What's happening? Benton here, out and about Thursday morning, walk and talk. How about you? Uh, oh, and real quick, silliness. I left the motel room, my hovel, and uh, immediately realized, I left behind the lavalier microphone. And if I could get an audio check on the, I had to make sure that bike was not coming my way. I'm always ready to cover my eardrums lest they get blown out by some loud motorcycle. And I'm liking the visuals downtown. I don't even really want or expect to run into any folks to talk to. That's not the point, right? But yeah, if I could get an audio check. So as soon as I left the room, I remembered, I've left behind the lavalier microphone, went back in for it, realized I needed to use the restroom, used the restroom twice. Well, that's either good or bad, right? It was good in this case. And then left without the lavalier mic. That's just, and I have had no cannabis today. That's the state of old Benton's short-term memory these days. Certainly exacerbated by the THCO. Thank you, Razvan. Good to see you, sir. Razvan, who's been quite generous with the super chats. Thank you, by the way. I'm planning. I believe I'm getting my first YouTube payment end of next month. I'm pretty sure that's how it's going to work. It's difficult to confirm that with all the red tape and legalese and whatnot on their site. However, after that, I'm pretty sure what I'm going to do is all the YouTube money. Now, this may change if I decide to do memberships, which may not even happen. Actually, I'm not a huge fan of how they've got that implemented here, honestly, on YouTube. But all YouTube money's to my nana, my mother, who's talking about getting a fucking part-time job, even though she's damn near 70. That's America, by the way. That's the country we live in, folks. And, a lot of that is down to her own poor choices, arguably, financial choices. Sure. And she's not blameless in the situation, my mama, but, well, and not asking for ways to receive money, Razvan. I will never, ever, ever have another PayPal account. Been there, done that. And I'll have to remember to speak into the microphone since I do not have the lavalier microphone. Something's going on. Oh, we're having some sort of disturbance at the what appears to be the only night spot open downtown, as far as I can tell. Hey, what's up? Musical's a secret. But yeah, see, this is, and I'm not picking on you, Razvan, but I am fascinated by people, as if PayPal is somehow, yeah, that can work for certain people in certain instances, obviously. Of course it can. But yeah, I'm intentionally never using PayPal again. I don't like them. I don't like the company. I don't like the way they conduct their business. I don't like many of the things they've done. And what happened to me during 08, 09, on the heels of that is I just straight up chose that I'm not going to, there's just certain things I'm not going to do as a human. One of which was using big banking services. Yeah, exactly. And again, I'm not mad at Razvan. I'm not picking on Razvan. It's just, I also have like this knee-jerk part of my brain that it says, he's talking about YouTube money. Oh, use PayPal. That avoids the YouTube fees, right? Yeah, but that's a whole nother set of problems, right? Arguably. But it's interesting discussion, right? And, not trying to be a pedantic asshole, but I am that, right, on some levels. Apparently there's some sort of disturbance going on up here. I don't know if it's worth me even turning the camera around or not. Yeah, why am I awake? Well, I went to sleep at 4. That's how good/bad things have been for me lately. Now, some of that is the THCO putting me down a couple of hours early, and it will put you down. It will put one down. Well, now they're looking at me, so I'm going to record them. Looking as if I'm doing something wrong. I ain't involved in whatever foolishness is going on over there. But if they don't like what I'm doing, that's not my problem. Authoritarians, right? Authoritarians. We out here. Oh, a phone. Oh my God, we've never seen a phone. A phone. We've never seen a phone. Oh my God, a phone. We've never seen a phone. Nobody's ever seen a phone. Just the looks I get with this thing sometimes. I love it. We've never seen a phone. I'll never get used to that. Just the looks I get with this thing. It's literally a phone and a microphone and a little bit of plastic and metal to hold said. Like just the fact that people can't understand what they're looking at. Even my own mom, at a certain point, I had this rig at her place, and we've got to ask all these questions, and then she's trying to talk to my nephew about it, and of course he knows all the technology. He understands. He immediately knows what the fuck it is. Realistically, I'm talking to people my age and older that can't understand. It's a phone, right? It's a fucking phone. We've all got one. So she's trying to explain to him what the whole thing. It turns his phone into a camera. I'm like, the phone is a camera. Like, see how confused we are. And then with my whatever I've got, so-called autism, I'm just like, I can't just leave it alone, right? So when the people are just looking at me all bug-eyed like I'm a fucking space alien for walking around with this thing, it's like I can't help myself. I have to call them out. I mean, what if they showed up on their motorcycles and just everybody looked at motorcycles like they didn't know what the fuck that was, right? Like, what is that? Like, we've never seen motorcycles. But that's how I feel walking around with this thing. It's like it's this brand new invention that nobody ever has had access to, and thus nobody's ever seen and doesn't know how to react to it. Oh, the blacks were, that was certainly racially motivated on some level, I would assume. Of course, the blacks didn't look at me crazy, lest we forget. No, that was the honkies. The one black guy was kind of staring at me, which is why I went over there. These fucking bozos. Again, I'm all for freedom. If they want to, other than the loudness of the motorcycle, I don't personally believe should be allowed. Because there are people out on the streets, such as myself, and that can cause damage to my ears. So they say loss, injury, or harm. Well, now do we need jackbooted oppressor thugs putting a stop to it? I don't, not necessarily. Yeah, something's going on, man. I'm surprised the cops ain't out here. Somebody's going to end up. If this was my town, there'd probably been gunshots by now. Not that there's any version of a nightlife where I'm from. There used to be PJ's was the largest club in the state at one time. I'm not even sure. That thing's got to be shut down by now. Brand new ancient technology. Yeah, indeed. Great comments, by the way. And again, Razvan, not trying to pick on you, sir. I'm fascinated by the knee-jerk loops into problem solving. Just as soon as I mention something, here come the potential solutions. It's like, y'all understand, I have that thing up here too, right? And it's part of that we're just so used to being around dumbos. How many of us are mostly around dumbos who would mention something about YouTube, and you could go, hey, use PayPal, and they'll go, bing, wow, that's a great idea. Why didn't I think of that? It's like, we ain't that, right? We're not that. We're something else. We're the ones who already have the brain that can go there. So I don't know, man. It annoys the fuck out of me, but I love you, Razvan. Thank you. I don't say that a lot, but I appreciate you. But y'all know I'm a fucking dick. So it is what it is. Yeah, Walmart employee questioned me because I had my phone in my shirt pocket with camera facing out. Exactly. Wanted to know if I was recording. Yeah. Yeah. What if you were? Exactly. Yeah, exactly. And then there is the thing where they just kind of pretend like they're curious, but they're actually having the body language, the voice tone, and the stance, the general demeanor of an authoritarian, but they're acting like they're just curious. Because I can tell when somebody's just genuinely curious. I've had a couple of people have just been genuinely curious about my body cam, right? That's a completely different thing than, the authoritarians and the hostility and all of this. And this can never be freedom. This idea that, Benton shows up with his bizarre presentment and doing, performing arguably unconventional activities, at least in this environment. And instead of the person, realizing, okay, probably since this is a human being, he's probably doing things that make some sort of sense, at least to him. Let's pause long enough to utilize some deductive reasoning, and maybe if I'm of course they're all drunk, so what can you even expect? But let's spend a few seconds trying to maybe figure out what could this be. But as we know, these people are not thinking for themselves. That step never happened. It's just a little bug-eyed looking at Benton. He's the only one apparently intelligent enough to figure out that he can take his phone, his pocket computer, and put it into a not very affordable apparatus to carry it around. Because Lord knows I've dropped this thing enough as it is, when just my phone rather with the case on it. So what chance would I have, especially once we get microphones and additional equipment into the picture? But thanks, Rez, man. Appreciate you. But yeah, this is what I'm talking about, is this idea that sometimes probably it might be good for a person to sort of investigate, see something, say something. That's not completely fucking invalid, but so my thing is, why is the threshold for see something, say something so fucking low, right? And then the cops want to say, oh, that's suspicious. But it's like, yeah, have you read the dictionary definition of suspicious, sir? It effectively means any behavior out of the ordinary. So as long as my behavior conforms to what most of the people do most of the time, it's not suspicious. As soon as I choose to exhibit conduct and behavior that deviates from the norm, now I'm suspicious, which is never a crime, by the way. The legal system will consider, probable cause and such, right? But I'm never in the wrong because I'm engaged in unconventional speech and action. That can never be wrong or bad. And now, well, that's subjective, obviously. That would be the bad. Is it bad or not? Would be a matter of opinion, right? But then the jackboots know at the end of the day they can just call pretty much anything, disorderly conduct, right? And whether or not that sticks in court, at least they know they can cuff and stuff somebody pretty much any damn time they want. And in fact, a lot of folks don't realize the legal system does allow, in most jurisdictions, as far as the legal system is concerned, the court system and the law enforcement, they can actually pretty much arrest anybody, take them to jail or take them to whatever facility and hold them for up to 48 hours. It might even be 72, but I think 48, in order to determine who they are, right? A lot of folks don't realize that. Basically, we want to think this is a free country, but the reality is the thugs, the oppressor thugs, can show up, detain me and arrest me effectively. That is an arrest, by the way. They can do all of these things, and a lot of folks aren't aware of that. Yeah, how dare you try to unplug from the system, which is not a thing that can be done, but certainly I would like to do it as much as I'm able to, and arguably did for damn near an entire decade, living out of a backpack, traveling the country, living in the streets with damn near nothing, right? Early bird gets the live stream. Yeah, it's interesting stream dynamics, especially yesterday. And then some of my problem is some of my recent performances have been so bizarre and arguably off-putting to portions of the audience. I'm aware of those dynamics, certainly. It's not lost on me, right? It's not all just, oh, these other people are also live, because sometimes I do well when a bunch of people are live, right? I can't just blame that necessarily. And then sometimes OTW doesn't have good numbers when people are live. But I love what he's doing over there, man. I don't always tune in for all of it, but I think he does a great job. There's obviously some, he has some limitations as a broadcaster, but don't we all? Don't we all, right? Still astonished with this place being 24 hours. Quite interesting. Oh, just I thought I timed everything right, and here I am right in the path of a vehicle. I thought I waited. I thought I was patient, and as soon as I started stepping, here they come driving right at me. How silly of me. The best laid plans of mice and men, as it were. People love to drive at pedestrians. I don't know if y'all ever noticed that. One of their favorite things to do. Anytime, few drivers will miss the opportunity to point their 4,000-pound, metal cage at a human and move towards that person. Didn't realize somebody was getting dropped off at the 24-hour gas station. He did not look like he worked there, because I certainly factored that in. Maybe he's an employee. I misjudged the situation. See, always using the old noggin. Now, whether the effectiveness of that, of said thought process, that may not always, we may not always see the positive results of that. Oh, positive mental attitude was something I wanted to get into on this broadcast. Shout out to 12 in the House at 3:08 a.m. Now, those are numbers I can be happy with. All right. Most definitely. And shout out to listener and audience notes with respect to me just randomly starting to read stuff on broadcast. Apparently, that's not well received, and I do appreciate it. If I want to just read something, I can read out loud. I can certainly record it on my own, right? I don't really need a live chat. In fact, I don't think I was even reading live chat. So, message received, folks. Thank you. And, certainly want to do the best broadcast possible. And this is my art, as silly as that sounds. Benton here is apparently a sensitive artist type, as much as I may not want to be a creative, right? A so-called creative. And I thought I had a lot of good thumbnails from yesterday's broadcast. What I'm realizing is I don't really know. I think I don't know where they are on the recording. So much material lost, right? Yeah. How dare you try to unplug from the system? That's right. Yeah, fuck PayPal. But if it works for other people, that's great. I'm not here to tell other people not to. Yeah, brand new ancient technology. It's just, oh my God, a phone. What? We've never seen this. Good God. Yeah, motorcycles. That's right, motorcycles. And some of this stuff, it's just things I've heard, like, throughout my life, and just I thought were funny. Because I'm sure at some point I just knew people in Arkansas that would say motorcycle. I think there's somebody asleep in the alley, just like where they could get run over and shit. Am I seeing this right? Huh. I'm not even going down there. That's bizarre. Well, and then just, Music Holds a Secret talking about, being questioned by the Walmart employee. It's something I do when just a random, because even if I go into Walmart and they work there, that's still a random person as far as I'm concerned, right? Especially if I'm not asking for their assistance. It's like, yo, I've been walking into Walmarts since before some of these folks were born. Like, I don't really need, I will let y'all know if I need your assistance walking into the Walmart and like going to whatever section of the store I'm planning on perusing first, right? Don't really need any help with that. I'm liking the B-roll though. See, now if I ever manage to get on a stable connection overall, I've got B-roll footage I can play. Like that. Sometimes I want to add a video element without worrying about the copyright issues. Ben's Hookah Lounge. Oh yeah, exactly. Yeah. Well, and no flashlight. See, historically, I've always carried a flashlight. Always in the homeless years, and only recently have I gotten away from that. Then someone sent me a badass flashlight, which, God, that's going to take me a while, man. Actually, this is starting to remind me. The losing of the flashlight is starting to remind me of the one and only time my rucksack got stolen in Spokane overnight when a combination of what was I drinking at the time? Milwaukee's Best Ice 32s. I think I had probably 2 of those, spaced out though, right? And some particularly enjoyable / potent train wreck oil. And when I say OG Kush is my favorite strain, that's not exact. Actually, it's good strain wreck, but oil specifically. But yeah, I had an ounce of medical train wreck. Somebody bought. I had somebody go get it at a dispensary in Eugene. That shit was fire. I think it was very affordable. I think it was like $100 for an ounce, something like that, maybe 120. So yeah, train wreck. Actually, now if I'm being real, right, I do the OG Kush. You know, there's something to that name and that branding, and I do enjoy it. It is one of my favorite strains. But as pointed out, there's many different like subtypes of OG Kush. Anyway, it's been such a thing for so long. Ocean grown, by the way. But yeah, train wreck. So yeah, the Milwaukee's Best Ice, Beast Ice. Don't recommend that to anybody, certainly. And the train wreck rendered me unconscious to the degree that my ability to wake up when people come around me when I'm sleeping got subverted, and then woke up to no rucksack. It's kind of the same feeling with this flashlight. And that shit didn't wear off for months, dude. Every time I thought about my rucksack, I would just have like this, it's like fucking intense, like sinking feeling, right? Yeah, I'm pretty much there with the flashlight. And then if I had an income, you know, I'm so used to just being able to buy shit. It wasn't that long ago, I would have just been like, fuck, and I would have just immediately ordered another one on Amazon, right? Wouldn't have even thought about it. And, you know, don't cry for me, Argentina. I'm not in dire straits, certainly. My mind is my weapon. This is my resource. So as long as this thing, thank God I pulled out of the fucking alcoholism, the practicing of the alcoholism before I completely ruined my mind, right? Thank you. Thank God for that. Yeah, God's gift. That's another really good one, actually. Yeah. My mother, not my grandmother. This is my mother, Razvan. She doesn't have to work. See, that's the thing. Americans don't know how to manage their finances, and I've been impressed with Razvan from listening to him. I can tell that number one, he busts his ass. You know, just that someone who likes to work hard and has a work ethic. You know, that's more or less. There's still people like that out there, but that's becoming, you know, less and less of a thing over time. And then he seems to understand how to most, you know, while I'm sure he treats himself and spends freely in a sense, it seems like he's preparing for his future and all of these things. A big part of my mom and her husband's problem is there wasn't a lot of preparations for the future, although my father did all of that, like in the time in which I was living with my parents. My father had a successful business, a convenience store, made a lot of money for the time and the place. And so apparently, you know, it looked like their retirement was secured, right? Meanwhile, my mom, you know, that divorce happened so long ago, she had plenty of time to get her act together with the retirement, right? This is just typical American boomer shit, man. Now, not all the boomers are this way, but, you know, wait till Gen X hits fucking 68. Of course, that's boomers, right? Boomer V2. Boomer 2.0, right? AKA Gen X. Most of these motherfuckers don't have, I'm not going to have anything if I'm still here for retirement age. It's going to be Social Security, if that's even a thing, right? So I think this is more or less fucking normal for America. That, oh yeah, epilepsy warning. Apologies. There's one of those Popo. Put one of them dilly kebabs down here, whatever that's called. Yeah, epilepsy warning. Yeah. I think y'all know. I think you're picking up what I'm putting down. So now so like I've observed how people's brains work, and then, you know, over all of the stress and trauma of the fake pandemic, and then my mom got hit with the bioweapon. So she would always, she tells me these stories about the system, and, you know, she's on like Medicare or Medicaid, and then so every time I talk to her, it's some version of system speak, right? Like, well, you know, the pandemic is finally officially over, so I'm not qualified for Medicaid in 2 months, and then now I'm having to pay like $350 a month to supplement my health insurance or whatever she's telling me, right? And meanwhile, I don't want anything to do with any of that. Like, I'm just like, no, I'm out. I'm not interested, you know. And I just tell her, like, hey, you know, I can't follow all of this, but, you know. And then I also, like, look at the red tape, look at the bureaucracy, look at what, you know, humans are doing, look at what we're doing here. Like, this is crazy on some level. So now I guess she's realizing that she doesn't quite have. So when the extra benefits from the pandemic were in effect, everything seemed fine. And the way people think, this is just natural, and it seems like maybe this is part of the brainwashing of the program. Well, everything's fine, so there's no reason to do anything. But then, okay, it's just, oh well, one day we're 68 years old, and then, oh well, there's not enough money in the budget. Oh well, I guess I'll go get a job at Walmart. And this is what shout out to Caleb Hammer channel, what he calls dying on the Walmart floor. I mean, go into any super center. There's elderly motherfuckers working in there. I'm talking like 80 and shit, 75-year-olds. I think it's fucked up personally, and then I was horrified, man. And I'm just, she's telling me this on the phone, and I'm like thinking about my illness. I'm thinking about like, well, fuck, when I wasn't sick and when I could drive a truck, and make between $1,000 and $1,500 a week, I'll just give her probably just give her $1,000 every month, right? But now that that's more or less over, and then, I chose to not, I could have maximized my earnings potential to a much greater degree by not taking so much time off in between jobs. So I'm in this space of going through all of this, like, good Lord, what a disaster. My mom going to work, back to work. This is nuts. The popo. Has the popo found me? Perhaps. Not that they care. Probably just bored. Of course, we didn't see him down there where the incident was happening, did we? Yeah. Conspicuously absent. If he comes up and talks to me, that's what I'm going to say. I'm going to say, man, I noticed y'all wasn't around that dispute, whatever that was, right? Whatever that was. All right, hold up. We're going body cam just to let them know how serious we are. Casey creeps up on us. I'll just call him out on being bored if he tries to approach me. Oh, and we forgot the body cam. At what point did I take the body cam out of my pocket? This is just bizarre. Wow. Yeah, see, I'm falling apart. Normally, I don't make this level of mistakes that have already happened just so far today. Back in the living in the street homeless days, that would have been disastrous. Like maybe one mistake a week is recoverable, but not fucking. I've already made 2 or 3 today. Yeah, look at the moon, man. Yeah, indeed, amazing. Where did it go? It's behind me. Oh yeah, yeah, love it, love it. Yeah, I may be a Leo, but I'm also a big, sun in Leo, but I'm also a big fan of the moon, obviously. Yeah. Well, and in fact, Musical's a secret. That's not only can many Walmart workers, not all, but many, especially with states that don't have a minimum wage, a state minimum wage, like Arkansas, which I think maybe Arkansas is finally doing a state minimum wage. I haven't kept up, but pretty sure right now in this state, $7.25 is still $7.25 an hour is still minimum wage. I believe. I'll have to double check that. I'm not exactly sure, but yeah, that's a whole thing. Benton dancing with the devil in the pale moonlight. Shit. The devil dancing with me, partner. Whatever that means. Oh, good deal. Yeah, a lot of male Leos in the streets. I don't know if you noticed that, Mr. Pizer. And I did know that. So yeah, Leo crew signing in. And that's one thing about Leo crew. They will sign in generally. Somebody brings up Leo, especially the Leo men, but the ladies too. We like to check in and just be acknowledged. We're not really asking for anything specific necessarily. Just, yeah, we're here. We're Leos. Yeah, you can admire us if you may admire me if you so choose. You may. You may also make fun of me, laugh at my comical presentment. Yeah, what's up, partner? That's right, Mr. Pizer. Indeed, Mr. Suspect. Good to see you, sir. Yeah, one cannot rely on the state to provide. And see, I've known that the whole time. Like, yeah, I might have chosen at certain times to have food stamps or whatever, but yeah, I don't consider them reliable. So this is like my mom. I feel for her because, and then I look at my own situation. It's like, yeah, if I wasn't dealing with my own shit, I'd be happy to kick her $1,000 a month. Who cares? Like, I'm living in a truck, right? It's nothing. Like, I'm not, on some level, I'm not even really going to miss it. Because remember, I'm also not preparing for my retirement, Razvan. So Razvan's $1,000 a month is probably going into some sort of investment, and then he has more money, I'm sure, right? But what I'm saying is, yeah, conceivably, I could have just filled the gap in my mom's finances. But then we get into issues around budgeting. So the reality is, most Americans, this idea that Americans are living beyond their means and all of this, yeah, that's true. However, most Americans also know version of budgeting. I mean, there's literally zero budgeting happening with most Americans. Now, yeah, there's a hardcore group who are very financially savvy and literate and disciplined and all that. Yeah, those people do exist. I'm saying most of the folks. And that's why I don't really go for sob stories when people are like, oh, my rent's due and I'm out of blah, blah, blah. It's like, yeah, but I know most likely that person completely mismanaged their income to get to that point. Most likely. Like if we were to actually, if I was to sit them down and break out a notepad and just say, okay, how much is your rent? How much are you just write it all down. Okay, electric bill is usually around $100. It's usually due this time of the month. Okay, they get paid twice a month and it's usually around this amount. It's not that hard, man. Like it does not require a lot of savvy. Pretty much a notebook, a pen, and maybe a calculator, and that's about it. And one could get by without the calculator if necessary, but we all have phones, right? This is not earth-shattering fucking developments. But so many people, they're not willing to do that because now it's like, oh, am I really going to adhere to this? Shout out to Razvan. I just now saw your super chat. Thank you, sir. $20 pound sterling. 20 pounds sterling. However you say that. Much appreciated, sir. Apologies for missing that initially while I'm wandering around running my yap. He said, oh, thank you, sir. Well, that's actually, thank you. I will do my best to remember to apply that to Nana's. Because remember, this is not until after I get my payment, which I don't believe is going to be until the end of next month, just for the record. And then I'm planning, I haven't committed to this, but most likely, there's a high likelihood that everything beyond that, it's going to go to my mom once YouTube pays me. So, but this one might stay with me, Rat. I'm not exactly sure yet. And I'm coming up on broke, folks. We're not in dire straits. We certainly have access to resources. I'm not in a bad situation, but certainly going to run out of liquid cash, most likely in the near future. But been there, done that. I know how to handle that. So it's a little scary on some level, but I don't know. Yeah, 100 to 800 a month SSI, but he owns everything, no debt. Exactly. And there's a lot of folks. 800 a month is more or less their budget, which is, I got to be honest, man. You've been very generous, but on some level, I would prefer that people aren't generous in some ways, but then it's like I'm just gonna have to trust that person to, that they are competent with their finances, right? I mean, ultimately. But part of me is like, oh God, I've got people on fixed incomes are sending me money, right? But I mean, everybody's on a fixed income, presumably. I mean, even that term fixed income, right? And who's not on a fixed income? Thank you, sir. Much appreciated, brother. Much appreciated. Is it the moon again? It is. Get your grape out of the way, sir. That might be a thumbnail. He is an international baller. I agree. And then it's like, how much do I kiss up to the people who send super chats too? Well, yeah, I mean, I will, but then I will also, at some point, I'll probably be berating those same people, It's like, oh, he's a brown noser. Yeah, I am, but at a certain point, everybody's getting the business. Anybody can get it. Like, isn't that what Paul said? Oh, and shout out to Mr. Unslaved. And I do notice, I don't think it's a coincidence that since I've chosen to abuse the THCO for the last however long it's been, my interactions with Mr. Unslaved have deteriorated. Not deteriorated, they haven't been as frequent or meaningful, arguably. But then some might say, well, he smokes all day, every day. Yeah, that's herb. He's smoking herb. I'm doing THCO and vapes, goddamn synthetic cannabinoids. Totally different sport in a way. I'm sure I could smoke flower all day too and be just fine. It certainly wouldn't put me down at 4 p.m. like yesterday. But god dang, I just went to sleep. Woke up at like 10 p.m. Yeah. But yeah, being able to make it on not much money is a skill. And then my mom has this problem where I know my middle sister doesn't do this anymore, but my youngest sister is very good at getting money out of my mama. So I'm sure that's some of it, right? I'm sure that's some of it. Here come the motorcycles. Sounds like cross rockets though. Cross rockets. Smell that guy was smoking a cigarillo, like grape cigarillo, but not with weed in it. Just he was smoking a grape cigarillo. I did not smell it until I passed it by. Y'all probably never saw him. Some dude wandering around out here. All right, hold up. We might have to pause. Yeah, I gotta get my fingers in my ear. All right, apologies. If they'd have kept going by me, it might have got too loud. A lot of that's preemptive and just never ends up being necessary. But every once in a while, they get me, man. A fucking ear, just a whole earful of loud pipes, and that loud pipes save lives. That's a bunch of fucking horse shit. Like maybe medium volume, but the medium volume is just as life saving as the super fucking loud, right? So, you people just like loud motorcycles, some of you, which is fine, by the way. I might like a loud vehicle, but why in the downtown where everything's concrete and it just bounces off the walls directly into my eardrum? Yeah, what is that? A motorcycle? Yeah. Oh, we're not going to break bad, sir. If you're talking about me, no. I can get along with anybody that can get along with me, Razvan. And that's true across the board. Now, some folks, I do, if anybody's ever studied this Myers-Briggs, the MBTI, they talk about the INTJ door slam. I do have the ability to just, a person was in my life and now it's as if they don't exist. I can do that, right? I can always ignore someone to a greater level than they can ignore me, or maybe a tie at worst. But yeah, that's how that goes. But yeah, as long as people are willing to work with me, truly, right? I can work with them. And that goes for the CBO crew. But I think personality-wise, I think we've realized that that's never going to happen, and that's okay. That's how things work out sometimes. But yeah, imagine, being on a fixed income and, but then, not in a bad situation, not in a bad financial system, everything paid for, like Music Holds a Secret, but then you want to donate to some bozo YouTuber and send him a birthday gift. Dude can't even keep up with it for more than a day. I mean, I would be fucking pissed. I got to be honest, man, on some level. Like, I would accept it and just be like, yeah, mistakes happen. Like, on one part, I would understand. And then the other part of me would be like, man, what the fuck? And ultimately, that's my bad for I should have just kept the thing, like, almost like a treasured possession. Why was I even carrying it around? That's ultimately, it's too nice of a gift, sir. You gave me too nice of a gift. That's really what happened. That I was not able to appreciate through my behavior, even though that was my intention, by the way, highly suspect. See, intention, my intention is irrelevant here as far as I'm concerned. Because I had an intention of doing well with this gift, and this is also useful, by the way. How many people buy us nice gifts and it's effectively unusable or it can't in any way. It's not no utility to the item, right? It's a lot of utility to this item, especially since I may very well be sleeping rough again in the future. But then we almost get into a pearls before swine situation, right? And then I'm the swine in this scenario, right? I don't know, man. It's a tough one. I'm very hard on myself, as you folks may have noticed, but that gets misconstrued as if I'm engaged in a process of negative thinking, and now we're gonna reverse. Now it's inverse law of attraction, and we're attracting fucking disaster. No, that's not the thing that's happening. Absolutely not. And in fact, whatever success I've had in life through transcending these limitations and leveling up, arguably spiritually, and all these things. See, it's just gone. It's just gone. Now, this certainly makes it harder for me to keep my ideas in my head, but it's not the cause, but it's making it worse, certainly. Certainly making it worse. Yeah. No, I'm saying I would be. We're all different that way. Like, part of me would immediately understand, like, yeah, this is normal. Humans make mistakes, bad timing. What are the odds? But part of me would be mad. I mean, yeah, certainly. Part of me would. But yeah, I understand you giving freely. I get it. Yeah, not pissed when you give someone something. I agree with that. Yeah. Yeah, you could run it over with your car. Yeah, and I'm more like that than I am like this other thing I'm describing. I'm just saying, like, part of me would be pissed off, but it wouldn't be that big of a deal, I guess. But yeah, the door slam, indeed, the INTJ door slam. Correct. Highly suspect. But yeah, anyway, it's just funny to me how I process these things. It's going to continue to bother me. Definitely. And then, then we get into like, there's no coincidences, there's no accidents. I do like to beat myself up on some level. So it's like, did I unknowingly sort of, because I know not to put things in those outer pockets on cargo pants, like work pants. See, that's a red herring all its own. Like, I don't know if you'll be able to see these, but these are my favorite pants. These Wranglers. I forget, there's Tough something, or I can't remember. There's Rigs. Yeah, they've got a separate branding, but these outside pockets, man, just no, it's a red herring. Do not go there. And I knew this, and I went there anyway. So that's the problem. Because I'd learned the hard way, I thought, with some Dickies that had an outside pocket. And I lost a phone in the deserts of near Bend, Oregon. INFJ says highly suspect. Yeah, I do enjoy the Myers-Briggs. I enjoy the Myers-Briggs stuff. It's good. And I just thought about something that I started to address earlier and failed to. That's kind of an interesting visual, that building back there. If my freaking head wasn't in the way. Trying to get the corner of it too. Oh, there we go. No. Kind of. And I don't see in mirrors, I don't see properly. There's no doubt that I've figured that out, man. Whatever a normal person sees when they look in a mirror, I don't see that. I'm not even really sure what I'm seeing, but it's not that. It's something completely different. Yep. Got to keep your head on a swivel out here. Huh. Is that a me thing or a you thing? I don't know, Pizer. I missed the earlier. Yeah, I only wear cargo pants, Rachel, and that is mostly a shout out to homelessness and shout out to JG. I am homeless. I used to say when I was homeless. Really, what I mean is when I was living in the streets, and I'm not currently living in the street with almost nothing. But yeah, the utility of the cargo pants but these are actual proper pants. These are work pants. Like, these are not just the bullshit like at Walmart or whatever that'll tear up. Because in homelessness, we need slightly more rugged clothing. Most definitely, shit gets tore up way quicker. And if you ever in your local area, if you've ever seen some organization gives away like a bunch of stuff, they give more or less all the homeless people like the same thing. Like, everybody gets a brand new backpack. Everybody gets maybe a couple of pairs of socks. Like it's this whole thing, right? Uh, every single time that's happened, those backpacks last about a week, and it's over. They're destroyed, and it's not through abuse. It's just in that environment. Only a proper backpack. If it's not a proper backpack, it has no chance. So a week later, the people who really don't have access to decent backpacks, they're still using them, but like the main zipper's just open, right? And this stuff's falling out or whatever. Because it's possible to make a backpack that looks decent at first glance, but we know when we see it, we're like, oh, that's you got about a week. It's good for about a week. Yeah, I only wear. I shouldn't even say cargo pants. These are work pants, but they have cargo pockets. But then sometimes the particular type of pants wants to get fancy and add these just outer pockets that are just open to the world, right? And that's one of the pockets I chose to put the nice expensive flashlight in, like a bozo. I figured out later though, I carry a knife in my left front pocket. What I should have done was taken that knife out of that position, put the flashlight there, and then I realistically don't even need this knife on me. I just need to have like access to it. So, because I carry a utility knife, which does virtually everything I need to do on a regular basis. But I think a man should have a knife on him at all times. That's just my opinion. And I've not always lived that way, but as much as I say that I used to carry a flashlight 24/7, and I stopped doing so, I still got a couple of knives on me, and not as weapons. These are not weapons. I don't view them as weapons, but I don't use them as weapons. It probably would not occur to me to attempt to defend myself with one of these blades. Definitely not getting into any knife fights, I can beat it, Michael Jackson Beat It style knife fights. The moon's up there, but you can't see it. Street light. Go ahead. Yeah, go ahead. Go ahead. That's one thing I never adopted, the go ahead. Although I guess I do say it in my own way at times, I'm sure. Go ahead. Yeah, zip or button cargo pants. Yeah, dude. I'm a pat down person. I'm constantly fucking patting down and making sure I still got my stuff with me. I've always been like that. I'll just set some shit down and just wander off. And I'm trained every time I've been sitting somewhere. I learned this during homelessness. As I walk away, always turn back around and visually inspect the area I'm leaving, because sometimes I'm leaving something behind. There's always something useful that I use. It's always something I'm used to having on me, right? So much so that there were times when people tried to give me an item, and I said no, and they would be kind of confused as to why I wouldn't take their item. And I said, I'm at maximum capacity. I'll have to get rid of something to take this, and I don't have anything I want to part with right now. So it's just this simple pragmatism. Now I can take it from them and carry it around until I'm out of their sight and give it to somebody else. Like, yeah, if you want me to, I'll just give it to someone else. And in fact, if you've ever tried to give like maybe some peanut butter crackers in a package or something to a homeless person and had them not take it, at a certain point I realized if I'm standing there holding a sign, I'm just accept everything everybody gives me, and then the stuff I don't use, I just give it to whatever homeless person wanders by in that time, right? And then just leave it there, possibly. Certainly not trying to eat a bunch of junk food. It's unlimited free junk food for those living in the streets, though, I can tell you that. Unlimited. If a person isn't that picky as far as the highly processed packaged foods they consume, simple matter for one to live in the streets and just eat junk all day. It's a free and effectively unlimited junk food. Welcome to America. And up to 40% of all the food ends up in the garbage. So certainly the less discriminating and or desperate and or more desperate could certainly sustain their existence solely through the trash, which I have witnessed. By the way, I've seen a person subsist almost entirely on food eaten out of the garbage. And I only saw that person get sick once, and he literally would consume anything in the trash if he considered to be edible, and that was not a high bar to cross, including liquids. And he would actually he would carry around these Ziploc bags, like the large size Ziploc bags. And so sometimes I guess he wasn't hungry right then, so he would just dump a bunch of he would like mix the food and the liquids together like in a Ziploc and just like stick it in his pocket. And I guess it could be milk or God knows what, And presumably he consumed it later. I don't know. Yeah, I only ever saw him vomit one time. Walk and talks. Yeah, I could maybe do that. I've done it before, but in a limited form. If Pizer wants to come up and share, I'll probably have to find a place to post up though and be stationary. At a certain point, it's too much. Trying to listen, trying to read the chat, and move around and observe the environment. At a certain point, it can become too much. Too much. Too much. Too much. Too much. So right now, I'm looking for a place to urinate. So once that's over with, perhaps we can bring on Mr. Pizer. I might need to put you off a little while, though, Jeff, if you're wanting to come up. I'm getting a little better at managing the broadcast, and I'm reading my own energy levels and my nerves being shot. And when I say that, it's a particular like neurological experience I have, and that's my interpretation of it. Is because I always heard people would say that. The older generations, especially, you would hear just old ladies used to like to say it sometimes. My nerves are shot. And pretty sure whatever that is that I'm feeling, I think that's pretty close to whatever they were referring to. Now, this is some interesting street art. I don't think we're going to be. I missed this yesterday. As much as I say I don't like the clean, really organized, slick or murals lacking grittiness. It's not always the case. These colors, man. Of course, in the lighting, my human eye being vastly superior to this pocket computer with selfie camera. So yeah, you're not going to be able to really see any of that. Again, this is the torture continues because now I'm thinking flashlight. 4,000 lumens for 10 seconds. That would light that entire wall up. That would be cool as fuck. I might just fucking order one. I don't know, man. Yeah, I can talk about coming up on broke, but I got $100 I can spend right now, or whatever that thing costs. I don't know. I might just buy it anyway. Yeah, we'll see. Cheapness will kick in though, but then I'll be back to, since I'm not going mini mag light, I've never carried a different style of light for long enough to really. I need to like that specific item. That's probably part of the autism also. Yeah. Anyway, we'll come back to it in the daytime at some point. I don't know how I missed this yesterday. It's pretty fun. Maybe it's less cool in the daylight. Digging the colors though. Yeah, I think once I get the car fixed, man, if that ever happens, I could probably just drive around to a lot of these towns in Arkansas. There's a few towns in other parts of the state, especially, that actually have similar style downtowns to this, although not as large. And I know I understand this is small, but by Arkansas standards, this is one of the biggest downtowns in the whole state. I know that sounds insane, but it is. Yeah. But having been to many of these other states and many large cities, yeah, this is one of the largest downtowns in the entire state, believe it or not. Outside of Northwest Arkansas, well, yeah, that's all new stuff though. That's a different style of downtown in a way, because all those towns that now comprise what's referred to as Northwest Arkansas. Northwest Arkansas, where Walmart and other companies and corporations are headquartered, but most famously Walmart. They were also small that, when the downtown was built up, at the age of most of the buildings down here, it was such a tiny town that it was literally probably just a town square. Like Fayetteville has a square, the square, and that's because that's how small that town used to be. Not that long ago, like just tiny little town that now they've grown up and still aren't big, by the way. I think all of Northwest Arkansas is might be 600,000 by now, like the whole metro. And this is far enough away that Fort Smith is not included in Fayetteville, Springdale, Rogers. Although you will see a particular metric that does include this, I'm pretty sure. So I might be wrong. I actually need to go back and check my work, because then you get into CSA, which I believe is combined statistical area. Then you have MSA, which is typically a metropolitan statistical area, and then those have their own specific definitions, obviously. So I can't off the top of my head that stuff. My car is parked. It needs a clutch, sir. Clutch flywheel throwout bearing at the minimum, I'm assuming. Pretty sure the transmission is all right, but it's a lot of drivetrain noise. I've spoken to EBT. I'm pretty sure he agrees. While he would not say directly, the fact that he did not respond, I'm taking as that he agrees with my general assessment. Then again, until he actually was to see it for himself, he can only rely on what I'm telling him. So it's probably why he was, he probably knows not to try to offer an opinion just based on what I'm telling him. But yeah, most likely clutch flywheel throwout bearing, which the parts not that expensive for that car. I can actually get better parts. And that is one of the weak points on that car, I would say, is the clutch. It's not a very good clutch. And then I engaged in some spirited driving. I drove it hard because I like to drive, Razvan. I'm a pretty decent driver, and it's a manual. So, in spite of the low horsepower, the low power output, the 122 horsepower, it's still fun to drive. Lightweight, not fast by any means, but you get the 122 at the top of the at the top of the power band. So, with the gearing of the transmission, there's fun to be had. But yeah, I overdid it a bit. And if it was a Honda or a Toyota, though, I doubt I could have worn the clutch that fast. They tend to put little nicer, little beefier stuff on there. The flywheel, from what I'm seeing, just researching the car, is more or less just a total joke. So obviously replace that while we're in there. Yeah, I think parts, it looks like clutch flywheel, and I don't know if probably includes the throwout bearing. I don't really know. I'm not a mechanic, but like right at 300, I think. So then, well, damn near 10% sales tax, of course. Not that bad, man, overall. And that's an upgrade over the OEM. But pretty much anything would be, right? Then labor, obviously, which will be somewhat high. And then I'm probably going to try to find some version of a shade tree, what we call a shade tree here in Arkansas, shade tree mechanic. Probably find a Mexican, though. Yeah. Say, well, don't call them Mexicans. That's racist. Or, well, they're from Mexico. I understand some of them are from, Guatemala and Honduras, El Salvador. Yeah, I get that. But these particular ones, I believe, pretty sure are, in fact, from Mexico. But yeah, definitely. It's a drawback. This is probably my last manual car, Razvan, because I do enjoy and prefer a manual, but I've had good luck in the past not, buying a used manual and then not having to have the clutch replaced. And in fact, the clutch was fine when I bought this car, as far as I can tell. I actually put some wear on it. So part of life, I guess. The amount of fun I had driving that way, I don't know. Let's convert that into a few grand. Yeah, now I'm looking at these lights. It's a lot of fun, man. At least just being around where there's actually stuff to have in the background. need a proper camera eventually, though. That's a good, yeah, that's good advice. Yeah, definitely. This town, man, I don't know. I might have to try to trust might have to take my chances. Getting to a different town. What's up, Sophia? Good to see you. Yeah, he likes to max out his Jag RPM at least once a week to keep the diesel clean. There you go, yeah. Yeah, there are some benefits to driving a car. There can be some to the engine and such. Yeah, that's probably the psychedelics. I found psychedelics seem to increase those effects for me anyway. It seems like it's more likely. I know the only time I did DMT, and I did it properly, because the thing is, it's possible for one to smoke DMT and not blast off. I certainly blasted off. There's no question about that. It seemed like, and it's such a bizarre thing, I can't even really accurately describe it, but now I'm just taking screenshots here for thumbnails. If I can ever find that. I can never find that later. Kind of like that too. In today's thumbnail, I like it because you kind of really can't tell what the fuck that is. Like the two lens flares kind of look like spotlights, like a movie premiere or something. Yeah. But yeah, it seemed to me at a certain point like I had actually dreamed my actual DMT trip the night before. But then I also realized from talking to some of the folks around me that some of the things that I thought tied into that, in fact, did not occur at all. So yeah, definitely I was experiencing some confusion, at least in the short term, possibly between, what was my dreams, the trip itself, and then, the actual, what we would refer to as the actual reality, whatever that may be. Whatever that may be. Shout out to 20 in the house. We got a whole hour till Z plays his warm-up music. And why I came to the most lit up part of the entire area when I need to use the restroom is beyond me. Not good at multitasking. So now the flapper door is rearing its, making itself known, saying, "Hey, buddy, at your age, we've got this is as long as we can go. As long as we can go." Without a punishment, without a later punishment. Well, soon punishment. Okay, I see here. Starting to learn which way to go based on what I'm seeing on the screen. This was me learning to back up a big rig too, by the way. It's just through repetition. And more or less like memorizing what I'm seeing in the mirrors. Because I have no way to predict that, because I'm not able to visualize or form visual pictures. Probably why I'll never, I'm not a storyteller or an inventor of stories. My writing style is not in any way the writing of fiction. Not much imagination involved as far as making up stories. Yeah, the Wyndham. Check out the Wyndham there. Do you know which way to move, sir? Hilarious. Eventually, I'll just know where to point the camera. 3 hours of sleep for Sophia. That's good though. That's two. I'll tell you why 3 hours is good. That's 2 sleep cycles. What I learned in truck driving is that generally it seems like humans sleep in 90-minute sleep cycles. So an hour and a half that's a good amount. It can be a good amount of sleep. Although I only got an hour and a half sleep, but it's 1 sleep cycle. That's good. So 3 hours would be 2 sleep cycles. So if you actually went to sleep for the whole 3 hours, whoever said we have to have 8 hours of sleep a night, and that's on a monophasic sleep cycle. I've certainly experimented with and developed some proficiency in polyphasic sleep cycles, where there's one longer typically that would involve one longer duration of maybe, I don't know, 3 to 4.5 hours probably, and then maybe 2 naps, right? And you want to talk about leveling up your sleep, like your ability to use sleep like almost like a power or an ability, beyond what most folks can do. Long haul truck driving, if one sticks with it, I'd say a year, and becomes proficient at the job and is able to, because there's a lot of the schedule changes, and not necessarily being able to sleep on a regular that can put one into polyphasic. So I remember times I pulled over and took a nap, and it was like almost like psychedelic. So in a very short period of time, like 15 or 20-minute nap, because much beyond that, now we're into an actual sleep cycle. See, now is that even a nap, right? Of course, some people would say 3 hours is a nap, but what are we even talking about? It's just almost like psychedelic, like the hard drive's defragging. My brain knows this is the chance to get whatever rest we got to get to drive however many miles we're trying to drive, right? And we don't drive drowsy. There's no drowsy. That never happens, because if you ever see these, sometimes if you ever seen a video of like a trucker falling asleep and then rolling his rig, and if you ever see these, they go into micro sleep first, and at first they're pulling it off, but you can see they're going into micro sleep, and it's starting to happen more and more often. Well, the thing is, like, if I go into micro sleep driving a rig and then I wake up, if I've lost control of the rig, there's only 2 things that can happen, and this is assuming there's not vehicles in the way for me to run into. This is just assume there's no vehicles around, right? The only 2 things that can happen is I will get back control of the rig, or we are going to roll over. There's no other outcome possible. So the very first time I go into micro sleep, I must pull over and take a nap. That's a discipline. All of a sudden, I've been 20 miles from the delivery and had to pull over and take a nap. Just got to do what you got to do, man. There's nothing worth risking the clean record, and then obviously my life and other people's lives for whatever may be in the trailer. Not worth it. Yeah, man, sleep is a big one. So yeah, the long haul truck driving is a way to level up one's ability to sleep. So Truther Bowl weekend, I think I slept maybe 3 hours, but it may have been an hour and a half. Let's say 3 hours. So yeah, like 2 sleep cycles. But with the truck driving and me, I got the maximum out of that. Right now, there was still an effect. Sleep deprivation causes these effects that really don't. So if I don't sleep, so what's today, Thursday? If I don't sleep tonight, I'll feel completely fine on Friday. Saturday is when I'll be able to tell, oh, I didn't sleep, stayed up all night. And I'm pretty sure my testosterone goes up. I know my drives we may associate with androgen production go up if I don't sleep. Then I get manic pretty easy if I don't sleep. So I more or less make myself sleep no matter what. I learned that in living in the streets, managing my own mental health. And I've talked before about these stigmas around mental health. I would like to see that, although that has gone away to some extent. The stigma around mental health, it's reversed to some extent, but certainly not gone entirely, I would say. I haven't heard any birds yet, Sophia, but I haven't really been paying attention either. Yeah, the brain, and again, I've talked about before that the number one feature of the human is adaptation to environment. And then that a lot of those processes that are built into us, as far as I can tell, these are my opinions, but they involve the body and the whatever we're calling this, the energy sphere, or whatever that intelligence is. They talk about your body having wisdom. It's a lot of that is efficiency. The body will seek to be in the adaptation. The body will always be seeking to be more efficient than it's even been in the past, and it's generally going to be pretty efficient, although with some exceptions, certainly. But I think you folks know what I'm saying. Same thing with sleep. And in fact, that reminds me of a famous story, although it may be apocryphal. We don't really know. But there was a famous story where I'm just gonna have to force myself to stop here, and I think I'm probably just gonna lock y'all in the car real quick because until I make myself focus on the bathroom break, it's just never gonna happen. So now I'm like 15 minutes past when I said it was time, so the flapper door was complaining. Well, and there was a lady who won one of these extreme races, like one of these 100 mile or pluses, and she said at a certain point, like her body just she understood she had to get some rest or some sleep. So she had a partner with her, which then we kind of wonder how does that work? How does she beat all these people in a race? But then she had a person with her. But I'm assuming that person had some means of maybe wasn't with her the entire time. I don't know the logistics of these things, but at that time there was a partner with her, and she told him, "Wake me up after 1 minute." And I think some of this is person understanding. It's if she goes to gets into too deep of a sleep, probably she's not gonna. It's gonna be too hard to get her out of the sleep. And she said it was like just the most psychedelic, fucking intense dream, vivid. Just the brain was like, all right, we know we got this window of time, and just do it. And just like it all happens, in a very compressed. And she said to her, it seemed like she got like all this sleep, but it was like 60 seconds. And that's an extreme example, and it's me having listened to this person on the on Rogan, right, years ago. No longer listening to Rogan, although I would if I wanted to. Once he went to Spotify, I was like, I just knew. I was like, well, I'm clearly not following. He's losing me. Seen some of the clips here and there, of course. All right, locking y'all in the car. I'll be right back. Appreciate y'all being here. Oh. All right, we're back. Need to hit this water bottle real quick. Definitely brought a whole liter yesterday, drank none of it. Oh yeah. Yeah, and if I know some of you folks, part of the reason some folks probably, well, number one, could probably never be long haul truck drivers is because most of the truck stops, especially the chains, smell like urine, right? And the reality is, a lot of cities in this country, they may very well have downtown areas that are, inviting and that people want to visit, even the folks who don't really like cities. But then, they a lot of them drive to those areas, park their car, get out, and what's the first thing they're greeted with? Strong stench of urine, right? None of that down here, I can assure you. Now, part of that is there's really not that many folks down here, but even if there were, and I can just see trying to find a place to go to the bathroom, it's like it's just set up for, if the cops want to go out and fuck with the drunks. I got to replace the battery here. Hang on. Oh, that's not going to work at all. Yeah. Ah, shit. Ah, shit. I think maybe I did not bring. I just put in one of my spare batteries and it's showing no battery. Hang on. It might be SOL here. Yeah, okay. We're good. We got one bar on one of the two batteries I brought. Coffee time for Sophia. Yeah. I mean, show's effectively over at this point, right? Unless it's not. It's hard to say, but now that I've, in spite of my how I feel and illness and such, since I've dragged myself down here, I'm certainly not going to pack it in early. Seizures. Capricornia having seizures. What's up with that? Sorry to hear that. 30-minute, 30-minute nap. And I will say what solved me, drowsiness for me in the daytime, even when truck driving, I wear the diabetes socks, the compression sock. And when I started back truck driving with Balkan, this last company, not the last, my last job, but the last one I worked for any length of time, any appreciable length of time, I started wearing the diabetes socks 100% of the time, and I was never drowsy when driving after that, unless it was just actually really tired, which does happen sometimes. But if one is adhering to the hours of service, there is some benefits to that. There's obviously some drawback. It's hard to be really fucking exhausted. And that's probably part of the reason I could do that. I did manage to do that job while being so sick at the same time, was that, it's enforcing some measure of rest through the hours of service at times. Man, that's crazy. Yeah, watch out for this broadcast. Every once in a while, I wander by one of them police things that flashes. You may not have epilepsy, though. I don't know. I'm not a doctor. And not that I'm going to do this, but since the DEA said this thing is now Schedule 1, or that it always was Schedule 1 controlled substance. I wonder what the cops would do if I was just like, yeah, the DEA says it's Schedule 1. In fact, Arkansas banned them, but the sale of this stuff, I'm pretty sure I'm relatively certain none of the possession is considered illegal, although it could be going forward, right? That I wouldn't put it past these bozo Arkansans who love to talk about freedom while banning uh, certain human behaviors, or oh, we've decided that Mr. Benton, you're not capable of choosing if that's the right substance to put for you to put in your body, right? Yeah, I have an affinity for downtown Fort Smith. I'm a fan of downtowns in general, and I've been to many, many, many hundreds, literally hundreds. I could probably talk an hour just about various downtowns. Who knows? But yeah, it's one of my favorites overall. Certainly one of them. I'm trying to think. God, there's so many, man. So what else? What other favorites for downtowns? And this can be different sizes. Like this is obviously not even 100,000 people in the city here. But then some of the cities I'll name probably much much larger population. I don't know. Might have to think about it. Yeah, see, no Spotify. There you go. Yeah, and increasingly, what I'm finding is like, I think the general public, most folks, and how many of you folks have noticed that a lot of our fellow humans, especially the ones that may be referred to as NPCs, although what I've said from the jump is, well, I can't get past the N and the P because to me, N and P mean no personality. So once I detect the person is not exhibiting a discrete personality of their own, that's I don't really need to investigate too much further, for my own purposes. And I kind of lost my greater point there, but I'm gonna have to just train myself not to tangentialize quite as much. Yeah, this one we missed too. See how many things can be just because I did not walk this way the other day. There's a pretty cool mural. Some of this stuff is probably prefer it in the low light. Yeah, art. And I know a lot of y'all ain't really into art, so I don't know what to tell you. The broadcaster is to some extent. Although this is going to be way too dark. Yeah, almost none of this. This is where we get into just a point and shoot camera. I could actually take halfway decent shots down here in this light probably, but it's just a crapshoot. Just you get what you get. It's not like somebody's paying me to produce a certain output. A specific thing. Thanks, brother. Yeah, I'm liking these more and more, especially as the quality of my later streams from my computer. I'm burnt out, really, is what's happening. So I'll come up with strategies for dealing with that. But yeah, I'm burning out. That's what's happening. Not on these though. I'm burning out on the computer. It's more of almost like the radio jock. It's almost like a radio jock type of thing. And yeah, I like working on my skills and stuff. But if I'm not doing that, then it's something about like what JFK Beta talks about in some of his videos. Shout out to JFK Beta. If we could drop his link, anybody, I'd appreciate it if possible. But the way he explains it, I haven't completely grasped it well enough to explain it or speak on it really. But he talks about, from what I can tell of some of his material, the connection between creativity, even logic and reason, but those various mental processes and the physical, right? Moving around physically. In him, I think doing like specific exercises or maybe exercises that it's like an intuitive thing that goes along with a certain, creative process or thought process. I can see something to that. I know my thinking of many years living in the streets with nothing. Again, that was 10 miles a day on foot, I would say would have averaged out to. That's not an exaggeration there. So with the 35-pound pack, so there's something to that being in motion. And then if everything is in fact mind, like in the Kabbalion sense, and I'm not saying that is valid or is not, that's up to each person, right, to determine. Man, I wish I could remember the point I was trying to make earlier. That must be frustrating for the audience. And I am the audience to some extent, so I'm realizing that I would like to know where that was going to go. But I'm taking selfies, so we're taking thumbnails anyway. Cheese it up. Cheese it up. Whatever, cheese ball. Number one used to say that. Whatever, cheese ball. Hilarious. Both wives, hilarious. There you go. While weed whacking. Is that what we're calling it? Weed whacking. That could have multiple meanings, right? Yeah, and at a certain point, it's not that I have to stop doing live streams, but at a certain point, until I force myself to focus on, at a certain point, I must necessarily go back into some of my old material. By the way, I just remembered Pythag Bex, no more videos, no content on the channel, or no, of her content on her channel anyway. Yeah, look at that. Imagine. We're all very inspired, to be sure. We're now all very inspired, to be sure. Yeah. I do need a different comment for a thumbnail, though. Thank you, sir. Yeah, because I don't know that it's going to help the numbers any. This is just more my specific creative or artistic process, which I kind of want to vomit when I say that too, right? But yeah, I also cringe at that sort of talk, so I get it. Again, I am the audience to some extent. But, I'm starting to play around with making thumbnails like with my face, some sort of interesting background, and then a comment, a readable comment. Because then, on the phone and on the computer, where it'll say like live in 2 hours, that can cover up the comments. So I'm trying to see like where exactly, how do I need to make the thumbnail to make, where the comment shows up is still maximizing the screens, all of that sort of stuff, right? That I can do on some level and do my own version of. And I understand it's the clickbait platform and all of this, but the reality is, until something changes on the platform, they've already proven, as far as I'm concerned, YouTube's proven that YouTube itself is keeping the channel at a certain size. Not that it would be huge, but it would be probably larger than it is now. And that's where you get into Aphrodite whining about YouTube stealing her views or whatever. It's like, well, no, it's manipulated. The whole thing's manipulated from the jump, though, lady. Like, why is she expecting anything else? Yeah, see, I have no idea what to do physically to try to accomplish what I want to see on the screen. It's bizarre, man. And it's like, yeah, everybody's like that, but this is how dumb people can be. I got into it a little bit with a guy who operated one of those big loaders, the one that famously I got dropped out of and dropped onto the concrete from 13 feet up, breaking my heel, thus fracturing my heel on the job through no negligence of my own. Nice. He was giving me a hard time about something, and I was trying to make a point to him, and he didn't understand what I was saying. And finally, I said, "Man, what you see in the mirror is backwards." And he was like, "No, it's not." And I just looked at him, and he was like, "Oh," because I think I don't see it backward, or maybe they don't see it backwards, and I do. I've never figured it out, but I'm trying to convey to him that, man, if I'm looking in the mirror, I am not seeing what you're seeing. I promise you. I don't know what you're seeing. I'm barely sure I know what I'm seeing, and I know for a fact they are not the same thing. So I don't know what to tell you, man. I've even had people get mad at me. You have to write this down? I'm like, yeah, what the fuck, bro? Yeah, you can't remember this? You have to write this down? You have to write it down. Fuck face. You can't write a book report? You can't read a book and then just write a fucking university paper book report off the top of your head? You know what I mean? Like how? Yeah, I understand that it seems insane to that person that I can't do that thing. It also seems insane to me, although I accept intellectually that it's not a thing, but it seems crazy to me on some level. You mean you just weren't born with the ability to do this thing that I can do effortlessly? It's a shitty attitude, man. I don't. It's beyond that. I despise that way of thinking. Here they come to run me down. Don't let the bastards grind you down. And there used to be an old man, or not an old man, but there used to be a crazy dude who would come over here by this fountain and give speeches, and I used to come listen to him sometimes. I can't remember exactly what he was talking about now in retrospect. He was quite impassioned in his discourse. It's must not have been strictly religious, as I recall. Must not have been. Yeah, I don't think we're going to be able to bring you up, Jeff. I'm probably too high between the, and I am highly visual, so I'm having a much different experience on these style of streams, especially downtown. There's way more for me to look at. The ones I've been doing down near the hovel, just nothing interesting visually, really. So definitely want to get back into photography more, and lots of opportunities for photography. Living in the streets, sleeping rough. Man, I've taken a lot of pictures over time that I just never cared about actually keeping. Right, just like I was doing it as a creative, probably doing it, out of a necessity creatively, but with not an understanding of that at the time. Of course, they're all in here somewhere, right? I've got them all up in here. So I'm doing photography to some extent while I'm talking with you folks. Thank y'all for being here. I'm working on getting back in touch with my gratitude, which is a practice, by the way. Of late, Mr. Benton has neglected some of his various practices, up to and including gratitude. He's become an ingrate in various ways. Perhaps it's time he was made to correct his course. And, dastardly villain twirls mustache, twirls handlebar mustache. Well, thanks. Yeah. Again, Sophia. Yes. Amen, sister. Sophia said, I was just thankful when I woke up and saw you were on here. Sometimes I don't like being alone. Indeed. I'm convinced that almost all of us are, although it's certainly not the only reason folks may choose to utilize YouTube to this extent or in these ways. A big part of that is necessarily we must cope and contend and deal with our high levels of social isolation. That's more or less just a normal function. It's just more or less normal now in America, as far as I can tell. That's the status quo. Includes I almost said healthy dose. Quite the contrary. Quite the opposite, rather. But yeah, a dose of. See, it's gone. She's gone. Even the word is gone. But yes, if I can well, let's not make it about me just this once. Although, of course, it is about me as well. But it's also about you folks, in a way. Or it could be. I would say that the individual hearing this is the only one who is qualified to make that determination. Right? Because they are the only ones having any experience being them. Yeah, see, I need a camera person. Y'all need to be able to see this, see the strut. I have to wait till I just sort of naturally fall into it, though, because otherwise it's a put on. It's an inauthentic put on. Yeah. You see, I may utilize homelessness as some version of an artist retreat, but very quickly we're going to get into weather, right? And in fact, in some ways, it was a strategic error to re-up for another month at the motel because I'm going to miss some good weather when I could have been, if, assuming the car gets fixed soon, which it is drivable, by the way. In fact, I drove it here to downtown. But, yeah, definitely going to be potentially missing some opportunity for some traveling around to various cities. Benton going to a bunch of downtowns might be interesting, at least at first, like season one, just like downtowns of the Midwest or whatever. You know, trying to think weather-wise. Of course, that wouldn't last too long with winter. Winter is coming. Oh, expect delays. Damn. Right when I said winter is coming, that sign said expect delays. There's one of them axe throwing places, I guess. Civil axe. I'm in the middle of the street here. Garrison Bridge. Expect delays, yeah. Thank you, Terry Miller. Much appreciated. Well, and this is, y'all are very polite. It's a polite way of saying that the what I do after this is sucked balls lately. And believe me, I know when I'm putting out trash. Now, is there some, is there some uncut gems in there? Yeah, of course. Yeah, well, maybe. I shouldn't even say of course. Hang on. Shut the mouth. Remember, all comments are directed at me on some level. I'm trying to get that. I like that. Expect delays. Yeah. Snow. Oh, yeah, because I mentioned cold weather. Yeah. Well, truck driving. I kind of enjoyed it on some level. It was a challenge. I was up to the challenge, and my first full year truck driving, I knew to work on my skills above and beyond all other things. The job's annoying. There's a lot of unfair. The new people of the industry are certainly exploited. In part because of their own ignorance. But I was working on my skills, so part of that was, East Coast winter. Right. I'm never chaining up, and I'm probably never driving again. To be, realistically, I'm probably done with the 18 wheelers, most likely. But it's not that has yet to be determined entirely, right? That story is yet to be written, but that's just looking that way. Certainly. There were times where I'm pretty sure if I hadn't just happened to be the one at the head of the line of traffic in the winter driving conditions, going slow as fuck, right? Going however slow I got to go to be safe. And then there was at least one time where I was like, damn, if I was going any faster, even going like 25, that's as fast as I could go and be able to stop safely. That's the thing is I think a lot of folks aren't good at knowing, oh, I'm not able to stop safely. So meaning if I have to stop, well, now it's most likely going to be a wreck. Right. Yeah. Can't really get a good angle of this. Those crickets, man. Yeah. Like when I'm doing after my later broadcast, and I'm like, damn, cricket. Freemason. See, Mr. Pie really wants to share right about now. I'll be frank with you, sir. I don't have the energy to listen right now. At the risk of however that may sound. Now I can go through a justification process, but even that's not necessary. I mean, even I don't want to is enough, right? And I am a people pleaser to some extent. Like I want to be of service. So if I can see a way that I can be of service, sometimes folks just need somebody to talk to. And part of that is part of needing somebody to talk to is, is there somebody to listen, right? Am I upside down no matter what I do? Okay. Too bad it's sideways, huh? Has the po-po found it? Yeah. Still can't believe I see that shows you how out of sorts I am. I managed to get down here with the mount for my body cam, but no body cam. Yeah, yeah, thanks. Yeah. Yeah. Certainly missed an opportunity. I'm trying to see how I'm specifically framing things in a way where I'm not really saying, "Hey, Dumbo, you done fucked up here in the recent past." But when the income wasn't an issue, the fact that I never put $100 on a used point and shoot like a 16 to 20 megapixel, just your basic, where when you turn it, the basic little fucking rectangle thing, and you press the button, hold the button down, and the lens comes out, and it usually has a halfway decent zoom on it. But don't try to use the digital zoom. So whatever it says digital zoom, I just ignore that. But yeah, like a 10x optical, 16 megapixel. Show's probably almost over. I might have to bring Jeff up just to keep the show going because now I see the battery's dying. So I guess I'll just talk until it says no audio in the chat, and then the show will be done. How about that? These 9-volt, 9-volts go hard in a way. I really do like my mic setup, but however, it gets a little old purchasing 9-volt batteries, especially if one is buying them locally. On Amazon, of course, Amazon. Uh, yeah, this building reminds me, downtown Fort Worth's got some cool Gothic shit. If anybody's ever in DFW, I'd say just don't even fuck with Dallas. Although Dallas it's better than it used to be. But actual downtown Dallas, I guess you got to go like Deep Ellum or whatever. Damn near in the road. Oh, there we go. Yeah, I love walking. One of my favorite things ever, and it's pretty much my whole life. I love walking. Oh, okay. Yeah. You mean through the YouTube, Mr. Pie? Or are you trying to send me Amazon gift cards? The thing about the Amazon gift cards, if one tries to use their debit card, especially, but probably credit cards too, but I know they're especially picky if it's a bank debit card or what I have, a prepaid debit card. There's so much fraud within the Amazon gift card system that they just say no to a lot of things, just playing the odds, right? So like the fact that you're not engaged in fraud, you're getting caught up in their fraud, whatever their fraud system is. Oh, that's right. I forget that you're from DFW. My apologies. Yeah, Big L also he's from Fort Worth actually. Um, which I like. There's cool people from Fort Worth, man. I'm not a big Dallas guy. I never have been, but like I said, Dallas has improved a lot. And in fact, when I first started going to Austin and spending time in Austin, and the thing about Austin is, when I was traveling around the country, living out of a backpack, Austin is one of those places, much like Slab City, that I would hear a lot about from various people, but I myself never had a desire to go there just as a destination for whatever reason. I kind of needed a reason. I needed to be in the area, and I needed resources that I could really, okay, now I'll go to Austin. I needed a reason to go there. But Austin, was cool and funky and hip to a certain extent, and Dallas wasn't at the same time. And that's reversed us somewhat. I'm sure Austin still has its, funkiness or whatever, but with all the money and the high tech and all of that moving in, and then Dallas is blowing the fuck up, man. Dallas, I don't know if people realize this. Dallas is the place in the country actually all of DFW is just blowing up right now. It's gonna be another, it'll be Atlanta. It'll be the size of Atlanta if it's not already. It might be a couple million behind. Yeah, that thing's blowing the fuck up. So Dallas area for the funkiness and the nightlife. Well, I mean, I'm not even
into the nightlife anymore. But cultural. I'm talking about more cultural type of stuff. It seems like it's improved a lot. Yeah, Fort Worth. I see. Why can't I remember all this? Yeah, Fort Worth, man. Yeah, yeah. Downtown. It's an underrated downtown. In fact, definitely one of my favorite downtowns, without question. That's a really good one, especially for Texas. And nothing against Texas. When I say the West is the best, that's also the case with downtowns, but not all of them, because the East Coast has got a lot of cool ones too. But so yeah, I shouldn't even say that actually. That's they probably run pretty close together overall. I'm a big fan of East Coast downtowns also. So I don't get it twisted. Don't get it twisted. I went to Philadelphia on vacation, lest we forget. So if that tells you anything. Because I knew there's no way I can't have a bad time. I'm going to check out a downtown, and I know that's an underrated city, by the way. Philly's got some problems, and then the whole Philly fan thing, all of that. But that's an underrated city. That's probably the best city that is almost never talked about. It's Philadelphia, in my opinion. But I like cities, and I understand how am I on here talking to mostly folks that don't want to be anywhere near a city under any circumstances, especially now. Especially after the fake pandemic, right? Never bothered to check out LA. Love New York, but never really had a desire when I was living that lifestyle. See, some people live that lifestyle. I'm talking about the dirty kid, homeless traveler, fucking vagabond, gigantic backpack. Some people got their dogs. I'm not a dog person, but that whole whatever that is, traveling kids, dirty kids, crusty kids, gutter punks. Um, I just say travelers, right? Or traveling. And what I love about those subcultures is when I'm living that way or have lived that way, like they sort of have to accept me whether they want to or not. And they do. That's how the culture works. Ad hoc grassroots, right? Because they need to be able to go out there and trust that, when they need help and resources and work people to work with them, that that they can also access that. We don't want to be exclusive necessarily. Not that not that it's always bad to be exclusive, or to practice exclusion, I should say, more specifically, to practice exclusion. Well, we're almost over to the rooming house I used to live in, and I kind of like to go all the way over there. I'm looking at the clock. I don't know that we have the time because I am on schedule for a laundry day that probably should have been done yesterday. I chose to do that today. So, looking at the clock, I don't think that's in the cards for today. And I'm coming up on some residences, so I'll pause while I maintain strict vigilance and observation. Actually, I'm going to put the phone. I'm going to turn the cam on. Yeah, I haven't been anywhere near a residence for a while. Need to clean up. Need to tighten up real quick around the people's houses. And this is when time of morning there will be some folks, having coffee and a cigarette on their front porch or whatever. Lovely weather, by the way. And this is a general vicinity, although you're not able to see it because of the lack of lighting. But this is a general area where I came up on a pit bull had a black man hemmed up, and the pit bull, just mainly, I guess, because of how much fear the black fellow was showing. This is an older black guy. He's probably in his 60s, late 50s maybe. I came and I ran the dog off, called off the dogs, right? Some pit bull. That was right around here. In fact, that house, I think, might have been the house where the dog lived. So I actually called animal control over that. That was egregious. it takes a lot for me to actually call the authorities, but that dog was out of control, man. And then the people were just like, oh, it got off the leash. But, they, come on, man. Fucking pit bull. Like, yeah, they're probably pretty good at getting off the leash. I don't know. Meanwhile, I don't care that they have them, just as long as it's not attacking black folks in the downtown, in the outskirts of downtown. Fine. Who, me? No, I feel like shit if you're asking me. No, man, I'm sick as a fucking dog pretty much every day. I can't dwell on that or talk about it. I feel like ass, man. I woke up just like, God, good God. If I was in any way set up for just laying around by choice, dude, I wouldn't have even gotten up. I'm not even kidding, dude. I'll just lay there. Real talk. But I got what we call a motor, Mr. Pizer. And I'm not saying you don't, and I'm not saying the audience doesn't. Maybe we all do. But I got what Adam Carolla refers to as a motor. So something within me propels me. But I don't have to accomplish much in a given time period. It's like I got up, I did my laundry, I did a live stream, did a little bit of show prep. Not really. I'm good. That's enough for me. I'm not one of these folks that feels like they have to maximize their productivity on a daily basis. I always thought that was bullshit to some extent. That's no way to live. These younger generations the millennials seem like they're figuring it out a little more. They're like, look, what about that work-life balance? I think they're figuring out the only way they will have it is to demand it, and that they're going to get a lot of flack. That's what I'm seeing in the media. It's like, I don't give a fuck. I'll go live by the dumpster out behind the gas station if I have to. But, can't really make me do too much here. Yeah, thanks, brother. Yeah, and when I've talked about my various practices and mastering, if I live long enough, I'm going to fully master my emotions and all of that. As long as I'm able to do all of that every day, I'm pretty contented on some level. This is an interesting building. Not that you folks will be able to see it, although maybe you will. Apologies for the darkness. I haven't really ever. I know I've been this way on foot before, but I've just never paid much particular attention to this part of downtown. This is definitely a large downtown for the population. I mean, there's no doubt about that. And then I think about places like, if anybody's ever been to downtown Amarillo, which maybe I just went there at the wrong time, but it's like a pretty big downtown with some big buildings, like not skyscrapers necessarily, but some tall buildings and some big buildings, and it's like deserted. Every time I've ever been to downtown Amarillo, like there's nobody, there's nothing happening. It's dead, and this weird road layout. Amarillo is one of those places. It probably isn't that great of a place to live, but it does have some artsy fartsy type of stuff, believe it or not. And it's affordable relatively, obviously. Now it's one of the places that the locals at least are probably attempting to practice conservatism, if that's a thing. And I've talked about before, all cities are blue cities. At a certain point, I'm so nerdy and like statistics, I actually ran the numbers. I found a website. I wish I'd bookmarked this. I get more and more scattered with information over time. I used to do a much better job of sort of keeping up with my bookmarks or whatever, but where I could go by city in the state of Texas with respect to the elected officials' political leanings, whether Democrat or Republican, conservative or liberal. And it was like Amarillo, it was just like 150,000 people, I think. There was effectively nothing above 150,000 people in Texas that had anything approaching a conservative or a Republican leadership. So in this country, and that's Texas. So, I can extrapolate out and say, yeah, with some exceptions, what, Colorado fucking city or something, but, with some exceptions, effectively all cities are blue cities. There's really, they say, oh, them blue cities. Well, you can just say cities. It's the same thing. Same fucking assholes. Yeah, part of this is, if I necessarily have to have certain needs met via my fellow humans, which I don't think is debatable in my view, in the psychology, that's at least some of the basis for the field of psychology. And again, understanding, where a lot of the founding materials and all these things, yeah, and the corporatism, and yeah, outside of that, I just mean the actual psychological concept. I can see that. Seems to me like some of this stuff has some validity to it on some level. Right. Becoming like a tick. The Paul enslaved mind virus has infected my consciousness. Moose, producer Moose. Hey, I responded to your email. The THCO put me down by 4 p.m. yesterday. So, and beef in the stew today, y'all. The slow cooker. 1.3 pounds of I forget, some kind of beef roast. It's about $10.50. So I'm thinking maybe even like once a week beef might be a good starting place. So I am a wild man. If I go back to eating meat every day, Lord only knows. Wild old man, though, that's not a good combination, is it? You're not a wild man, sir, because you're old man. Be a wild old man. Yeah, life happens, and so does shrooms. Yeah, man. Too bad. Too bad, Jeff. If the situation hadn't changed with respect to the West Coast, I used to. It wasn't that many years ago that I was regularly traveling to the West Coast every year, sometimes multiple trips in a calendar year. Uh, Several summers in the Pacific Northwest. Uh, lots of times passing through the Bay, SF Bay area. Yep. And in fact, before all this nonsense, on a certain level, I just assumed my retirement would be I'll just go beach bum part of the year in SoCal, even San Diego, maybe down there, Newport Beach, all of that, whatever. And then, maybe just up and down the coast, effectively. That's really all one needs to say. But I don't think that's in the cards, sir. Yeah, 30 watching. Well, and we're good on the thumbs up. I just want that ratio to be high. The channel enjoys a very high like to dislike ratio. So ultimately, I don't even care about the number. Me personally, I don't think the number of likes really matters as long as we're hitting a base level. And I don't know if y'all have seen the views lately, but the views are not. They're at it's an ebb and a flow. I've talked about things are cyclical. We're in the low tide, expect delays portion of the ratings, I guess. Pies are out here looking for a daddy, apparently. Expect delays. Yep. All right. Headed back to the car. We're getting out of here. Should we jaywalk? I do enjoy jaywalking. It would kind of be hilarious. I would kind of like being stopped by the cops over jaywalking. To be like, all right, if you're going to write me a ticket, I guess. But what? Pretty sure I can be trusted to cross the street. Spiral staircase going down. Spiral staircase. Spiral staircase. I'm well, if you're asking me, other than feel like shit. But this helps. The streams almost always do something for me. Hey, we're coming up on 2 hours. It's going to be great. Not that Zetetic Warrior needs our help, but if anybody would like to drop Z's link, I would appreciate it. Mr. Zetetic Warrior will most likely be going live, I'm assuming, in about 9 minutes or so. 5 a.m. Central U.S. That's my time zone. I believe he's on Eastern, as far as I understand. Pretty sure all of you folks are aware of his broadcast. But just in case. Thanks, sir. You're looking pretty stoic. Thanks, man. Thanks. Y'all got any biscuits in there? Mustard. 40 minutes. Well, my clock says he starts in 8 minutes, but I don't know. I might have said that all backwards. Ain't no telling. I'm certainly capable of having not said that correctly. Which reminds me, I think it's time for more THCO. Don't mind if I do. Remember, train not to react. I don't know if you guys heard that yelling or not. Oh, here we go. It's going to happen. I'm a bad man. My call or my war cry. Now, I would have done the chest beating, but I would have had to set the camera down. So I apologize. We didn't get the full Ray Lewis. And then I'll throw in like a dance move somewhere, like a little bit of a something. I don't know if y'all got a load of the pipes there or not, but that was about 80. That's about 80% of what I can do with my with my pipes. With my pipes. Usually, some version of a puffed up body language with some chest beating right before the "I'm a bad man" part, and that's like me kind of being humorous to myself, like Muhammad Ali, I'm a bad man. Yeah. I'm a bad man. Yeah, there was definitely somebody behind me directing their vocals at me. It's like, that I can feel that it's whatever that is, and I can't make out the words. It's for me. Right? Sometimes you just got to let them know. And that's another thing I think I talked about on stream before is like, with these homeless people, sometimes you just have to show them that, well, I'm as aggressive or more aggressive than you are. So whatever they're going to try to do to me through aggression has no chance, right? That can never bear fruit. I think that might be the popo across the street, though. Interesting, though. See, they roust the homeless. Y'all may not know this, but you probably can't see him. But if that is the police back here, where is this? I think that is. They actually roust the homeless in the cities, believe it or not. At a certain point, it's just like, hey, buddy, yeah, you slept here, but it's time to get up. Move it along. Might be a medical emergency. Now the cop's patting the guy down, appears to be searching him. Now the thing about me is, I will watch from like a distance, but as long as I have a feeling like the cop's doing everything appropriately, I don't feel the need to go over there and interject, right? But if I observe something and I'm like, wait a minute, this is, maybe I need to go closer to just let them know Mr. Benton is watching you, sir. But I will intentionally a lot of times just let them know that I'm watching them, so they know that I'm there. And I'll just be like, oh yeah, I'm just observing. I'll even tell them that, because then they'll look at me sometimes. I'll just be like, oh yeah, I'm observing, from a distance. I'm just observing. Whatever, just to let them know. Yeah, I'm just watching. Not involved, certainly. Just watching. Yeah, he was getting hemmed up. And that, in fact, that's probably the guy that was yelling, most likely. I don't know how it could have been anybody else, right? So him hooping and hollering might have got him hemmed up. So maybe because as we know, somehow the phone in this context triggers a lot of people. Maybe he got triggered by seeing me walk around doing whatever I'm doing. And the next thing you know, he's hooping and hollering. Now he's hemmed up. He's hemmed up. Oh man, good stuff. Good stuff. oh, they're going to get my license plate. See, I almost showed my car, and then it's like, oh, you can't show the license. But it's like, so what? What are they really actually going to do? What's anybody going to do with my license plate number? I mean, I'm sure there's things could be done, but no, I'm running pretty good on not getting fucked with by the internet. But yeah, there she is. Hoping to have her back fully roadworthy here soon for road trips anyway. See, I just cannot operate the selfie camera very well. It's just not a thing that can happen. It should be easier to switch between cameras though. I need like just a thumb button. Nietzsche? Okay, nice. Very nice. And away we go. All right, I guess I'll keep yapping during the ride back to the clubhouse. Why not? Ow. Oh, lower back's a little tight. Yeah, I can tell I'm not getting enough exercise. My back should not be tight. Oh, getting a little bit of the niacin flush, by the way. Shout out to these B vitamins. Why I didn't order another $9 bottle. I've got an order. Amazon claims to be delivering my order today early. So 250 count, so 500 total of these digestive enzymes, but I take 4 at a time. So however many doses that is, 500 divided by 4. 125. This ain't no 18-wheeler. This is the Benton Mobile. It's a strange thing. Oh yeah. But yeah, Moose, I would be open to streaming to mines, certainly. The chances of me actually using their platform, as far as me going on there and talking to people and responding and reading stuff, that's probably not going to happen. But never say never, right? Of course. Oh, and the battery's dying on the microphone. So basically, y'all are just hearing whatever you're hearing. I'm talking loud. It's a shotgun mic. I can't really point it at myself right now. Trying to drive. Do all of this at once. So what I can do, though, is pull over real quick and take the mic. Whoa. Damn. Didn't know I was off-roading. Didn't know I was about to be off-roading. Yeah, I can take the mic off of the contraption. Talk into it directly. That'll work. Give me a second. Fuck's sakes. Where's the mic? I dropped it. I can't find it. Even if I have an interior light in here, I guess I have to, right? Oh. And again, the battery is in the process of dying, so you may lose me altogether on audio very shortly. Oh, and it may just decide not to, it may just stay on the fucking phone, right? On the phone line. Anyway, how's my audio? Am I on the phone mic? What a disaster on some level. All right, real quick. Audio check, mic check, mic check. Mic check. Mic check, mic check. Can you hear me now? All right, thank you, Moose. All right, here we go. This is part of the clutch needing replaced. Sometimes it's trying to take off and the clutch starts slipping. Oh, good. That's what I mean. If you never lost me, it must have switched over to the phone mic, or it just went back and forth. That ideally, that's what would happen, right? It would the phone would know which mic to use no matter what. Like, why doesn't it know that the one mic is way better quality? Bizarre. But yeah, cool. As long as you can hear me, I guess that's all that really matters. Aha! Yeah, car drives great. Here comes the. I can start here the vibration right around 30. Some of that is tire noise, though. Certainly, some of it. Tires are they're not threadbare. They're not down to the threads. But certainly getting close to time for replacement. Certainly. Out of shit to say. It doesn't seem like a possibility. Yeah, I can definitely tell with all the THCO abuse that like now I'm more tense than I was before. Like whatever I was doing like to deal with my stress and my tension in real time, now that's that work doesn't need or have to be done necessarily, I guess, on an ongoing basis. So I can tell like I'm other than when I'm just baked Alaska, I got a lot more tension like in my shoulder. So that's an interesting dynamic. I will not be doing breath work on stream anymore, but get down with some breath work here and there. Maybe even some what is that? Dragon's breath or whatever they call that. Breath of fire. I ain't fucking with that Kundalini no more though. Leave that well alone. And this road is fucked. I wonder at what point are they going to resurface the bad boy? They won't let it get too bad. Got to go to like Jackson, Mississippi for that. I've seen some of them potholes on Nick Johnson's channel. Yeah, Nick Johnson, one of my favorite YouTubers. Seems like a fun job traveling around and making videos about different parts of the country. All right, I guess we're close enough to Old Synthetic Warriors start time. Go ahead and wrap it up. Thanks to everybody that was here. I'll probably do a stream later, but maybe not. I don't know. We'll see. Maybe not. I don't know. I haven't really decided. At what point does my behavior become almost purely compulsive with respect to it's like a Tourette's or a tick, where I feel like I just have to do a stream later today. But that doesn't mean that I won't. Also, we'll see. I guess maybe OTW. Perhaps he will go live. Although I do have the Pythag Beck's back catalog. This is what I talk about, folks, with the screen capping. Most of the time, I do these screen caps, and it never amounts to a hill of beans, and none of this is anyway. None of this is going to, of course. But now I have like 8 different Pythag Beck's screen cap live streams, although maybe not the entire live stream, but portions of it. And now there's no content on. There's not even a live tab, unless I looked at YouTube wrong. I mean, that was first thing this morning. So maybe I'll be going live later. Although I do need to go to the library if I'm going to be playing other broadcasts. So let's see. Laundry's up first. Well, that's not true. Food prep. Oh, I don't have time to prepare all my own food. Oh, yes, you do. It's like, but is the being going to make that a priority? Yeah. What somebody says I don't have time to, that means that's not a priority for me. And I'm not planning on making it a priority. I think if people would frame that that is the correct thing that's happening, by the way. I think if people would frame things in that way, it would help them potentially to maybe change that if they chose to, because that is the description of what's happening, right? But then we get into emotions and feeling judged and all of that. Like, no, I skip all of that part. Like, I've got feelings, and I also don't like to be dealt with in a way I consider to be judgmental, or although the word judge has multiple meanings, as we know. So now, just because we're using the English language, this conversation, it's just inherently necessarily fraught with peril, right? And have y'all realized that at a certain point, people's driving behavior has changed to where there's no longer multiple lanes on the road? Because these people have just chosen to stay behind me the entire time I had my blinker on. But then eventually they finally got too impatient because I was doing such a slow turn, and it's dark, and there's like literally 6 different places I can turn in. And then I'm also factoring in, is there oncoming traffic? And there's no turning lane, so I obviously want to minimize the amount of time that if I have to stop in the busy road. See, all of these factors, right? In the old days, as soon as my blinker came on, that person would change to the right lane and go around me. But because of what I mostly attribute to phones and behavior around phones, that almost never happens now. The person is now incentivized to just slow down and stay and not have to make a lane change, because they're looking at their screen, giggling at their feed, or worse yet, they're actually actively engaged with it at the level of trying to type and trying to tap on the screen for specific effects, right? And I'm aware of all this through pattern recognition. That's where we're at, and that's a worse society. That's a worse experience for me, and arguably for everybody else, I would assert, and that is my opinion. We know what opinions are worth, right? But even that's an opinion, or a characterization. More correctly, a characterization. A characterization. All right, go check out Zetetic Warrior, or not, as one may choose. Yeah, that's the country folk. Isn't that the country folk dirt road behavior, where it's somewhat necessary to, on some of those roads, the quality of the road, that's where you're going to drive most of the time, is in the middle. But that's the way I see people out here in the city making unnecessary wide turns, right? Thanks, Sophia. Much appreciated. Glad everybody was here. OTW show was bad. I don't know, man. I don't have the time to get into that right now, but that's obviously a matter of perspective as well. Thanks for watching. Bye.